Hello and welcome to the Screening Room. I'm John Tibbetts. Woody Allen here with me, of course, and we're talking about a Midsummer Night's sex comedy. Woody's the one on the left. Our glasses look a little bit alike, I guess. Midsummer Night's sex comedy. Woody, I was trying to find a way to categorize it a little bit for starters. How would you react if I call it a cross between Ingmar Bergman and Washington Irving? Just let me throw that out for a minute.
Not Chekhov and Shakespeare.
That would be another pairing too. I think could work.
That's the one I would do.
Yeah.
No, it's a how can I say, it's a romantic, sun-drenched
Sure.
comedy about the misadventures of three couples on an enchanted evening in the summer.
And it's the upper New York State. Is it the Catskill area?
Exactly.
That's what I meant by Irving, because there's that marvelous sort of legend-haunted
Right, that's where we shot it.
quality.
Right, we shot it right at Sleepy Hollow.
Was that a location that was chosen? Was that in your mind all along up in there?
Yes, we were very lucky. We wanted to get something around that area, and then it turned out that some people had a large piece of private property up there and let us use it. And so we went in and I looked at a book of houses, of charming houses of the early 1900s, and picked one out, and we built the house right on the property. And we had the whole place to ourselves for all last summer to do the film.
And there's that whole school of the Hudson River painters, in the 19th century. And I'm wondering if Mr. Willis might not have owed a debt there to some of those painters.
Sure, he's Gordon was a painter himself for a while years ago, and so is very, very familiar with all the styles of painting. And frequently, when he's lighting something, he'll quietly say, "Now I'm going to paint for a while," and we sort of all go off to our trailers.
There's a marvelous line early in the film where one of the characters talks about, we are going to put in focus Tintoretto and ectoplasm. And at one time or another through the film, an amazing number of allusions are being given us here about movies, with your magical device that I'd like to talk about, and painters, and with the music of Mendelssohn and Schubert and Schumann going on. It's one of the most richly elusive films I've seen of yours in terms of the arts. Is there something, maybe you could comment on that regard?
Well, the character that Jose Ferrer is playing is, of course, a teacher and pedant, and so that character is just full of references all the time. You know, his vocabulary and his frame of references are always very wide in respect to literature or painting or music, and the idea of the film, one of the parts of the film that's supposed to resonate with the audience is the summer atmosphere and the sort of peaceful, civilized atmosphere, and that conjures up to me that kind of music and those kind of summer days, and a taste for, for reading, and a taste for music and for painting.
Those wild contrasts when here's this pragmatic character singing Ich grolle nicht.
Right.
And all of the time you're with Mary Steenburgen in the other room having an activity of your own going on. That kind of thing, I think, sets us up all of the time, and it's marvelous the way it flows in and out.
We were very lucky that Jose knew those songs.
He did?
I wrote that part, and we called Jose, and we were all set to say to him, "Now listen, don't get upset, but you're going to have to learn some Schubert Lieder," but he knew them. And could sing them. I mean, it was just one of those miraculous pieces of good fortune.
The fact that he is a pragmatist, and there's a fall at the end, or a transcendent quality, whatever. Are you kind of dipping into something very personal in your own self with regard to that shift?
Well, I do feel, I've always felt, and I've always tried to express this in films, that there is, it's reasonable to believe that there's more to life than just meets the eye. And I didn't want to get into it in a heavy and deep way, but I did want to suggest it in the film because the atmosphere was perfect to suggest it. And of course, around that period, around 1905, 1906, that kind of thinking was very heavily in the air.
And just as the tension relaxes in the final shot, the Mendelssohn sprays forth.
The music is so beautiful.
Yes.
I had always liked Mendelssohn to listen to sporadically, and I never realized the effect that you get when you have so much Mendelssohn in an hour and a half's time. I mean, he really wrote some incredibly beautiful melodies. They're just some of the most beautiful things I've ever heard.
I'm thinking of the sequence when we first arrive at your house and we have that nice montage, shots of the fields and the swans while we hear the Scottish Symphony. Did you work with Susan Morse, your editor, on sequences like that very closely, or did you just give it to her and say, here?
No, what we generally do is sit down at the Steenbeck where we put the film on and just edit together. We just say, why don't we hook this up to that? That would look nice. Or, no, I think we should cut this short and put something, and that's the way it goes, sort of tediously building it as one would write a composition or a short story, just, putting shot after shot there together.
Now, along with Susan Morse, your production designer, Mel Bourne, your cinematographer, Gordon Willis, you've worked with them in your more recent films. Are you gathering together, along with Mr. Roberts and some other people, a kind of a repertory ensemble like a Bergman would do?
Well, I have worked with them now for about 5 years or so, and I think just practically speaking, when you work with someone and you have a good rapport and you work well with them, and then you do your next film, the tendency is to hire them. And so I had a good time with Gordon Willis on Annie Hall, and so we did Interiors and Manhattan and all those films together, and the same with Mel and various other people on the film. The same with Tony. Whenever I have a part that Tony can possibly play, I would always call him to play it because I know him so well, and I feel that I can accommodate him as an actor. I feel I can write things and direct him in a way that will get the most out of him, in the same way that I feel about Diane Keaton, or now, to a degree, Mia, since I've gotten to know her better. I can start to think of things for her specifically.
Yes, and there's a scene where she mentions the boyish quality about you while you're in the moonlight. I had the feeling maybe that you were just improvising to an extent, a sequence like that. You were just kind of talking as you really would have been talking in real life, maybe?
Well, yeah, a certain amount of the picture is improvised. I mean, a certain percentage. I always like to leave the scenes open to do that. That's why it's advantageous to work with friends, because you feel comfortable improvising with her or with Tony Roberts or Diane Keaton or something, whereas if it was a strange actor, I wouldn't feel as comfortable. They wouldn't know when I couldn't remember something or when I was deliberately trying to, to stammer. But I think improvising is important in a film to give it that natural look.
Woody, besides a filmmaker like a Renoir or a Bergman, I wouldn't have thought that an American filmmaker could do a film as rich and as wise and as warm as this, because Smiles of a Summer Night did come to mind a lot for me throughout this movie. And it's also out of the city. Has this been percolating in you for a while? This is a facet of your talent that I really hadn't been expecting, frankly.
Well, it's really two questions there. One is it's out of the city because by doing the film out of the city, I myself don't have to go out of the city. By satisfying those friends around me who like the country, I was able to shoot the film up there, and now I can stay in the city, and I don't have to spend my weekends in the country. I've paid my debt to the country. As far as this type of film, American audiences, as a general rule, have never been great audiences for the European style film, the more, what can I say, the more urbane, civilized, charmingly paced kind of things that one hopes to do in this kind of film.
Miss Julie's another one that comes to mind too.
Yeah, and I'm just hoping that this one's funny enough, and that since it has an American cast, it will get enough people to repay its cost.
Maybe a silly remark for me to make, but is Woody Allen mellowing out? Midsummer Night's sex comedy is a film of such great charm. How do you react if I were to react that way?
It's just a part of me that I'll cover up very quickly. You won't see that charm again for a long time, so don't worry.
It's from Orion Pictures through Warner Brothers. It's called A Midsummer Night's Sex Comedy. I'm John Tibbetts in the screening room. Woody, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's
It was
a
a pleasure.
wonderful film.
Thank you.
And I'll talk to you next time here in the screening room.